Predictions for BlizzCon and Season 3 for Diablo 4. Let's go.
Everyone, it's Rax. It's been a while since I made a video, so let's talk about some
True.
Diablo 4 stuff. So BlizzCon is coming at the end of the week, and I'm expecting two kinds of announcements there. An
Okay.
announcement on Season 3 and telling us what's coming in the immediate future, and that should be launching.
I think most people expect a Season 3 announcement. Let's be real.
Let's see. Remember, sometime in January, I would guess. And then, of course, I'm expecting them to talk to us about their expansion. So I'd like to go through both of them and give you my predictions for them. I don't have any Blizzard inside information. If I did, it would be NDA'd, and then they would kill me for making this video.
Yeah, that's
Since
true.
they didn't tell me anything, then I'm free to guess and speculate all I want. So I'll try to make some bold predictions and see what might be coming. And let's start with Season 3. So the
Okay.
thing that Diablo 4 needs, which is no surprise, is an endgame. We make these powerful characters and do exactly what? Duriel's not a challenge, Lilith is not a challenge, Nightmare Dungeon 100 is free. We need an endgame. Talked about it in the last video. The two key things for me for an
Okay.
endgame is it needs to be connected in some way and not random. Currently in this game, running Nightmare Dungeons doesn't mean anything. You plug any tier, any level, and go do it any which one, and then you kill it, and you get whatever items you get, and you upgrade your glyphs, and it doesn't mean anything.
True.
Compare that to Path of Exile, where going through all of the maps gives you your passive points, and then you go.
This has been one of my longest standings Diablo 4 complaint. The fact that the Nightmare tier dungeons are not random. Tier 1 is associated to like 3 different dungeons. Tier 2, same thing. And that is up until the maximum tier. If you're pushing dungeons, if you're at the end game of farming dungeons, you're constantly entering roughly, well, pretty much the exact same 2 or 3, maybe 4 dungeons all the time. It just gets super frustrating and boring.
Go and do the invitations, and you fight the bosses. And Last Epoch has the monoliths, and that's connected and building
Last Epoch
corruption
is
and fighting
great.
the bosses to target farming, etc. I want it to be connected. The other thing, as we've also talked about, is people are making these beautiful ball lightning sorcerers that are just so powerful. We need content to actually test our build on for real and see what we're really made of, and that currently just doesn't.
No, I disagree with this take. You see, the fact that the ball lightning sorceress works so well, it's just a bug. Okay? It's just Blizzard being as always, and they can't balance anything. This was never intended. The ball lightning sorceress was literally never intended to be this powerful. It's just Blizzard screwed up, and that's what Blizzard does. They screw up, and then a completely busted overpowered build appears because they don't balance things based on gameplay. They balance things based on Excel spreadsheets. So stuff like this happens. The ball lightning sorceress cannot be tested because it was never intended to be this powerful actually in the game. And fun fact, the ball lightning sorceress was in season 1 the first thing I wanted to do. That's why I played the sorcerers, because I saw that enchantment and I was like, oh my god, this could be so cool. Then I got it, and in roughly 1 second I said, oh my god, this is so horrible. This feels so ridiculously bad. And season 1 was different from season 2, as in you had way less legendary drops before world tier 3, okay? Before level 50 essentially. And I said, yeah, just by playtesting it for 1 second on a single enemy, it felt horrible. Okay? And I said, yeah, maybe this has some really good potential in the late game when you have all the items, but as a usable skill at the start, no, ball lightning is terrible. And now it's OP. I like to think I predicted that build. Because, yeah, I thought that, yeah, this could have great potential in the super late game when you have, like, all the items required to play it properly. But until that point, no, it's not playable.
Exist in the game. The next obvious thing that we need is a loot filter. We're still getting 1,000,000 yellows per hour. The loot filter is going to
True.
solve that for us. We're going to set our parameters, raise the eye levels, pick the stats that we want, and
True,
then
that
life
would
is
be
going to be really
great.
good. The other thing we need is the updated codex. Whenever you find a power, if it's a little bit better than the base value in the codex, you extract it and it just levels up your codex forever. This is going to be like
I don't like that idea. Well, I like the idea, and this is what I was talking about when Diablo 4 first came out, that the codex should be just like, you extract the power and it goes in a slot, and that slot is a random value from worst to best, and then you just apply it to a item that you want, and it gives you a random roll. That would give you reasons to pick up legendary things and disenchant them, and it would. His way is similar, but it kind of caps out faster and it becomes more boring faster, technically. So I like mine a little bit better, but he essentially is doing the same thing. The big problem with Diablo 4 is currently, well, gear in general. There is no end game because your gear is, well, you have essentially capped your gear at level 40, okay? Your gear is never getting better past level 40. That's the reality of this game currently. And some of you are disagreeing, but it is true. There are so little stat differences in the gear, there are so little stats that you want on the gear, that when you find it on level 40, you're only going to exchange it for the next world tier. And world tiers suck, they're useless, they don't add anything. They just add bigger, higher stat caps for items, but the stat caps don't change. They're just bigger numbers, and that's it. And that's why world tiers suck. But this essentially happens constantly. You just switch a world tier, and then you refarm the exact same items, but now they're sacred instead of normal. Now they're X instead of whatever previous name was the thing. Okay? So, there's no gearing in this game, because you essentially have completely maxed out your gear 10 minutes into the next world tier. So gearing sucks. And then you're just chasing after, poorly balanced items that in a lot of cases don't add anything new to your abilities that you use, or they alternatively make your abilities usable, because Diablo 4 has a huge problem of a lot of abilities being completely unusable for actual fun gameplay if you don't get a legendary affix for them. Okay? So that's one. Or alternatively, the most common scenario is that you just find some kind of random affix for a skill that just boosts its damage by 100 or 200%, and that's literally it. That's it. It's lame. The gear is also not fit for the late game. And the gear needs to be, scalable. We need to have an opportunity to actually look forward to swapping out our gear and improving it until level 100, not literally quitting on that at roughly level 62 or 64-ish, depending on when you do the dungeon for World Tier 4, right? It's just poorly made. It is what it is.
pseudo giving us 5 stash tabs, I mean, and it will almost completely solve the hoarding problem and having a million items.
Yep.
With the loot filter plus the updated codex, all you will keep are really good uniques and extremely good yellows.
Yep.
And we already have like 6 tabs, so that should be pretty good.
That should be enough.
If they continue to make more updates, like moving the gems to their own spot. If we get like an elixir tab, for example, we should be sitting pretty good there. And then finally, we need to do some rebalancing. The game is overall too easy, as we've talked about before.
The game is very unbalanced.
They might not make it.
But then again, I will say this: I don't think Blizzard will ever balance a single game. It's been 20 years since they last balanced the game almost properly. I don't think that's happening again.
That much more difficult, though, if the endgame system really challenges you. Maybe this is like your introduction to Diablo 4. You get to 100, you get some uber uniques. If the end game that they're going to release is very challenging, maybe they don't need to make it that much harder. And then there's some other things that they got a little bit off. For example, I feel like Overpower is too strong. Overpower builds for pretty much any.
Overpower is ridiculous. I'm playing currently an Overpower Necromancer. Well, I don't use Tendrils, and I don't use Bone Storm, and I don't have a Curse, but that's because I'm using Overpower well, not Overpowered, but Blood Surge, plus minions. I'm actually gonna switch from Ratmus Vigor at some point to Shadow Blight, because that should be more power, okay? But what he's talking about is the fact that overpower easily boosts your damage, and well, it just adds essentially 2 zeros to your hits sometimes. It's ridiculously stupid.
Anybody just rule everything. Overpower ended up better than I thought it was going to be, and I think the dot builds maybe ended up a little bit worse than the minion builds as well. So maybe some balancing there would be good. Now let's talk about the...
Except one thing I'm going to say about the Bone Golem, by the way. People sleep on that shit constantly, but Bone Golem is... Bone Golem Smash, not the blood one, but the bone one. The Smash, that applies vulnerability, by the way. Dude, that thing just instantaneously staggers bosses. Instantly, almost. It's crazy.
Expansion that might be coming. First of all, I'm going to give you a crazy thought. A lot of people out there are going to think that this is impossible. I think this is a non-zero chance. It might be extremely low, but I think it's possible that they might give us the first expansion for free. There's 2 reasons why I think that. First of all,
impossible.
They messed up the launch, and a lot of people are mad about it. Maybe they're going to do it to increase the rapport with the community and try to win some people back. If you gave me a free expansion, that would work for me. The second reason is now they're owned by Microsoft. Microsoft might use it as a move for like customer acquisition and retention. Might be a smart one. It might be worth it in the long run.
No, Microsoft already has different ideas, plans for stuff like this. This is just losing money almost.
You never know.
I would be seriously shocked if they just suddenly sell an expansion for free. Because the moment you give some people something for free, they're gonna expect more free shit. That's how it goes. So, giving a Diablo 4 expansion for free is gonna literally just murder the next expansion when it's not for free, okay? Because people are gonna expect it also to be for free, and these companies know that that's how the life functions.
They need to introduce some kind of real crafting system. There's no crafting. All you do is take an affix and re-roll it. That's not crafting.
True, but honestly, with how the game currently functions, and how lame and boring and mind-numbingly bad item stats are, this is peak crafting. I mean, how do you introduce complicated crafting systems to a game where, there's essentially, here's your primary stat, here's one of 3 defense options, and here's one of 3 damage options. Yeah, that's not good. That crafting will never be good on default. So introducing a complex crafting system solves nothing.
We need to be able to make items, and you can take inspiration from Last Epoch and from Path of Exile. Want to actually be able to make stuff? Why don't you use one of the godly systems that you had before, runes and rune words? You don't have to use the exact system, but why don't you take it and...
Horrible idea. The biggest complaint people have about Lord of Destruction that it made rune worlds too prevalent, and I actually agree with that. You know what's the most popular item in Diablo 2? Probably a Spirit Shield, if I'm being honest. And then after that, it's Enigma. Or they're interchangeable. And after that, it's most likely an Insight. And after that, it's kind of really hard to say. Maybe a Grief? I don't know. Death of the Dying? Breath of the Dying, I mean. Of Infinity? Spirit Sword? Just joking. But yeah. Rune words just were absolutely best in slot for way too many things. It didn't feel unique, it didn't feel good. No, rune words and sets will ruin Diablo 4 if they ever introduce them.
Put some learnings in there and make it even better. That would be a hell of a lot of fun. I would support that. Slamming items. You get a godly Shaco, slam something into it and try to make it even better, just for fun. That's kind of a super endgame thing that really matters to some people. One thing that we can talk about is set items. Some people love them, some people hate them. Whether you love them or hate them, the fact is Blizzard wanted to put set items in the launch. However, they couldn't get the balancing right. They didn't get it exactly.
Oh, really? They couldn't get the balancing right? Do you mean the same balancing that kind of ruined completely Diablo 3? The fact that set items have literally 10,000 damage percent multipliers on them. And I'm serious, they literally have like 10,000 plus damage to X. It's stupid. And then they have like 99.9% damage taken reductions also on said items. That's not balanced. Diablo 3 is an absolute disaster. I will keep to this. The moment Diablo 3 mechanics are introduced to Diablo 4 more strongly than they currently are, aka set items or some shit like that, I'm probably just gonna abandon Diablo 4 forever. I'm not even gonna play it in seasons. I don't play Diablo 3 on seasons. I didn't even buy the Necromancer class when it released in Diablo 3. Because the game's just bad. Sets are dumb, boring, and stupid. Every single mechanic that is in Diablo 3 is essentially on the tier of a low IQ mobile game currently. And the moment Diablo 4 is not far behind that, but at least it has a chance to not be as bad as Diablo 3. But the moment they introduce set items, I'm just done. I'm done. I'm never playing this game again. I'm just gonna rip on it constantly more.
Where they wanted it to. Diablo 3 sets are completely terrible because they give you 25%, 25,000% damage to a skill, and then you just take that and it just rules everything, right? Maybe they've got the balancing right, and maybe they're going to introduce set items for however they wanted it to be. I personally think that it's possible to have set items that are very godly for the endgame. Let's take the Tal Rasha Sorcerer in Diablo 2, for example.
Tal Rasha sets in Diablo 2 were even worse. They were even more boring.
Still one of the best sets out there. It's just godly. But you need to make it very, very rare. And again, don't make it 25,000% damage and make it a billion times better than everything else. But
you see, he doesn't understand one thing about his complaint. It is impossible to not go this route. Because if Diablo 4 adds item sets, one of two things is going to happen. Either the item set is going to be ridiculously strong and everyone's going to use it, and nothing else will matter, and then their only solution will be to add more item sets that are as broken, and we turn into Diablo 3. Or alternatively, they introduce an item set, and it's weak. It's too weak. And guess what then happens? People are going to complain. Why is this item set so weak? And then they're going to buff it. And then we also return to Diablo 3. The only way we don't return to Diablo 3 with item sets in Diablo 4 is by not introducing them in the first place. There's no other solution or fix.
I definitely think there's a way to implement set items if Blizzard dedicates time to looking at it. And then finally, maybe some affix adjustments. The joke about Diablo 4 is the affixes just don't feel good. Oh, you do damage if you walk backwards 10 steps on Tuesday when it's raining. It actually is raining, so actually we'd be doing some damage right now in the game. But you get the basic idea. And they maybe need to retweak that because that whole philosophy hasn't really felt good. The next thing that we need to do is take the systems that are currently in the game and make them deeper. For example, remember when Diablo 4 was first announced and people called this the skill twig? Well,
yes,
it pretty much is what they announced it to be. It's still the skill twig. It's nothing compared to PoE. I'm not saying that PoE is the answer. PoE is extremely...
PoE is not the answer. PoE is a shit... PoE is still a shit tier game to compare to Last Epoch. Last Epoch is where it's at, boys.
Complicated, but there's still a lot of ways to build upon the system. One of the most obvious ways is just to give us more options. I'll tell you another thing, I think ultimates are just not...
What do you mean give us more options? Half the skills for each class don't even work. They're non-usable, they're bad, they feel sad. What do you mean give us more options? The skill twig is not going to get fixed by just, adding more shit to it. Because chances are if they add more shit to it, it's still going to be bad because it's not going to work. It's not going to do anything. That's the problem with the skill twig to begin with. Okay? It's not good.
Not very good in this game. I'm trying to think of like the really good ones. The Werebear one for Druid is godly. But in general, when I get my ultimate, I'm not like, wow, I finally have my ultimate. I just never feel like that. It's
I
kind of the
don't
same
use
thing
it
for
even.
capstone passives. Capstone passives are pretty strong and they matter, but I don't feel a huge change when I finally unlock my capstone passive.
Yep, yep. For example, this one, you know what this one does? It increases attack speed of your summons by 15%, and 15 more percent if you have not taken damage and stood still for like 5 seconds or something. Don't remember, but essentially it's shit. It literally adds nothing. There's no point to it. I don't understand why it exists. Okay, if you want to deal damage with your skeletons, you take the Shadow Blight passive. Okay, so the passive that you take is the Shadow Blight passive when you're trying to play a minion build because the minion passive is just boring and bad. Dude, this could be useful if they added. If they at least like added, I don't know, multi shot for the skeleton mages and maybe splash damage for the basic skeleton warriors. But even then, Shadow Blight is just better because the reality also is there are no currently affixes or even keystones here. They reworked this little part right here for the Necromancer, and he has this because all of these are useless. Okay. This one I don't remember what it does. This one increases healing by every 8 seconds by an X amount, which is shit. And this one increases skeleton summon survivability by like 15%, all resistances, and 40% armor, which is ass. But this one is OP because it increases the attack speed of summons by 36%, I think, in total, if you stand still or something, or 12. I don't remember. In any case, this is the only good skill passive here. Like Blizzard, fundamentally for the Necromancer, don't even understand what actually makes it fun or how to make summons viable. Okay, they just don't. This is why this is such a mess because they have no idea what makes this game good. This is the same problem that we have with the gem bag. Everyone obviously complained about stash space and we need a gem bag and things like that. Blizzard doesn't even understand why that's a problem. They don't understand that having space for 2 items in your inventory is a problem. Okay? Then they add the gem bag, and guess what they do? They add all these boss summoning pods that you need to gather. And guess what they do? They don't have a separate monster summoning boss pod bag. They take space again. So when Blizzard fixes an issue, they don't even know why they're fixing it. They have no idea why the previous cluster here for summoning didn't fucking do shit. They have no idea why this doesn't work, and no one ever picks it. They have no idea why anything in this game works the way it works. They're just randomly doing things. Add a gem bag, but add more items that are creating the same problem before the gem bag was introduced. How does that make sense? Well, guess what? It doesn't. It's just they're clueless. They don't know what they're doing.
Maybe this is just me, having a bad attitude toward it. But when I get to the bottom of this tree, I'm really not all that excited. In fact, I can't tell you how many leveling speed runs I've done where I actually just straight up forgot to take these powers as early as possible because I'm more focused on
Probably.
leveling than getting this really exciting skill. And that to me is the indication that they haven't made them good enough. Another system that is very, very basic is the Paragon system. It
Yeah.
works. For now, it's fine, but you get points and you just walk in a straight line, allocating points.
Yeah, it's really boring. It is unbelievable. Oh, he's in the minion one. This one's a minion one. Okay. Does he even have minions? I think this is the minion one. What is this, the Overpower one?
So you throw this glyph in and you just walk in a
Oh no, it's impossible to tell by the icons.
straight line. It's a very rudimentary system.
Yep, it's a
And PoE
shitty
has
system.
lots of things, like it has these cluster jewels and it opens up these new things and these new paths. Again, I don't want Diablo 4 to become Path of Exile. It doesn't need to become that, but there is probably a middle ground between walking in a straight line, allocating points, and some cool and interesting things that you can actually introduce.
Yes, exactly. They tried to copy PoE, but they don't understand the point of PoE. PoE is you get you put like 3 or 4 points in some direction, and then you unlock something really cool. Let's count how many points he needs here to unlock anything even remotely cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess you unlock a new board here, so that's cool. But, who cares, honestly, right? Because you're not actually unlocking anything. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 useless MacGuffin points to unlock one thing that doesn't make your build different. It's just a damage multiplier. This is bad. PoE requires you 4 points into nothing to unlock something cool. Okay? This game requires you 6 times more than that. It's insanity. Okay? It is absolute blatant insanity. Still feels better than Starfield level ups, though.
To it, right? Another thing that they're going to need to do, in my opinion, again, I always focus on the same topic over and over and over, is the end game. They're going to announce some end game system in season 3. I don't know what it is. Maybe some rift-like thing, or maybe some delving thing. I have no idea. Maybe some new Uber bosses, some mapping to them or something. Not sure. Whatever they...
I mean, to be fair, again, for being critical, but you need to be critical of games, otherwise they never get good. The moment the game is bad and you start to say, "Good job, developers, you did something good," they're gonna just that's the last good thing that they're ever gonna do, and then they're gonna do shitty again. You never say good job. To be fair, Season 2 is way better than expected. Again, the game's still bad, but Season 2 is way better than I expected. I expected nothing. I was surprised to get almost something. So, hopefully Season 3 is going to be actually almost halfway decent.
Announce in Season 3, I think they got to announce another endgame system. They got to keep focusing on endgame, endgame, endgame. That topic is never going to go away. If that's always at the top of mind every single season, every single expansion, that's going to keep the veteran players, not just the pro players, but what I mean by veteran is the people who have played the game for an extended period of time.
People who are going to... Yes,
you keep doing the same thing over and over and over. That's how Diablo 3 died and lost so much of its fan base. Because you started off Diablo 3 doing Nephilim rifts and greater rifts. Yeah, there was monster power. It was a little bit different. Adventure mode wasn't there until ROS. I know the Diablo 3 history, but in general, it was pretty much just doing rifts the whole time and bounties, and it just never evolved. The challenge rift system was released at some point. Nobody liked it, and it was never updated. So I think again, the expansion is going to have to give us even more endgame stuff. I am almost certain with the expansion that they're going to give us a new class. Now, I'm almost sure that the class is going to be Paladin. I would love to be wrong. But
we watched the DM video about the Spirit Waker, or what's the name was. But yeah, Paladin sounds good.
There was a leak before Diablo 4 came out about 1 year ago that said that Paladin was one of the starting classes. They removed it and swapped it for Necro, but that to me indicates that they've had Paladin done for a long time. So I think they're going to introduce Paladin.
Yeah.
The number one question is going to...
But adding a new class doesn't fix all the problems the game has. That's the big thing.
Maybe Rax. What would you like to be? And that's a question I'd like you to answer in the comments. If you want to answer, if you want to give your feedback, leave it. But I'd like to hear what class would you like to see. You want the answer from me? It's a class that we're not going to get. I would ask for the Shaman from World of Warcraft, because I have like 14 or 15,000 hours in WoW on the Shaman. Love it.
That's kind of cool. But the reality also is Blizzard can actually add anything, because the Diablo 4 universe is, well, very open to almost any class except like a Tinkerer from the Warcraft 3, World of Warcraft, it can be added to this game without any problems. I think Monk is probably the lamest, but anything but Tinkerer probably is an easy thing that can be made into this game, and it's gonna be okay. So there's a lot. Also, new things that make absolutely no sense, like the Mud Lord. He uses mud. Yeah, that's his thing. He uses mud and rain. How about that? Yeah, even something like that can easily be made to work in the Diablo 4 environment. So they have all the chances to add anything that they want, no problems.
Enhancement. I love elemental, but we have the druid, which does nature damage, so I don't think we're going to get it. But if you want my vote, I would vote for the elemental shaman from World of Warcraft. That's what I want. They're going to expand the campaign for sure. Probably something to do with Mephisto. One
Yeah,
question that I have for
obviously.
the campaign is, will it be one and done? Okay, we get the upgraded expansion. Okay, we download it. Haha, we go through. We do.
My question with the campaign is the big thing that I wanted to hear in this discussion is, okay, I'm gonna be real. Even if season 3 is great and we get it before the expansion, which I'm not sure how is that gonna work. The moment the expansion comes, it's just gonna kill all the progress that that the seasons have done. It's just gonna instantaneously obliterate any and all sort of fixes, game improvements that we have got into this game. I have almost no doubt when the moment the expansion drops, it's gonna ruin all of it. It's gonna completely devalue and completely invalidate most of the things that were fixed, were made better, and people liked about the game. Because this is what Blizzard has done for the past 10 years with everything that they have made an expansion ever to. That's just what Blizzard do. They instantaneously devalidate everything that the game achieved and made good when the new expansion releases. So I have no doubts it's going to be a shit show.
Act what is it, 7, Act 7, okay, Act 8, whatever, Mephisto's dead or whatever the hell is we're doing. Is that it? Are we ever going to do anything else with it?
No.
That's what I did for the first expansion. I beat it once and I never did it again. PoE makes you replay the expansion or the campaign all the time. So does Last Epoch, and well, at least most of it. And this game does.
Yeah, but PoE is reasonable, and Last Epoch is also really great. The new campaign, by the way, is way better. They removed a lot of things, made some things more streamlined. It's really good. It's really good. If I had to replay the Diablo 4 campaign every time, I would bash my head against the keyboard until there was no head left or keyboard, and then it would be table concern to get bashed by my head. You know. But in Last Epoch and PoE, I can replay that campaign 100 times. In fact, I have, and I have absolutely no problems doing it. PoE campaign needs to be slightly nerfed and tweaked and made more interesting and better and faster at some points. But Last Epoch currently is godly. Okay, I don't mind replaying that campaign 100 trillion times. Still don't know any point about the lore in Last Epoch. By the way, it's just the fact that how good the campaign feels playing. Okay, it's amazingly designed maps and everything like that. Now it's great.
I don't know what the right answer is, to be honest with you. It's a question that I have, though. Here's another question. Renown. Renown has really changed on what it was. Renown on
Renown's
launch was a
stupid.
way to get a lot of power. You would get the full map. You would get the waypoints. You get the altars of Lilith, which gave you the stats. You would get the extra skill points, the extra Paragon points. Now, after you've beaten this once, you get it for free at the start of the season, and that feels good. And I don't really feel like doing the Renown every single season, so that's a nice change. However, the Renown system is kind of just an automatic given, and now, season after season after season, all it does is it penalizes new players.
Yeah, it's
If you're
pointless.
new and starting a season, you're buying Diablo 4 for Christmas, and you're going to play season 3 You're not going to have your Renown and you're just going to be behind. Will you care? Maybe not, but it just seems a little bit weird. Why wouldn't they just give everything to everybody? Or should they leave that in the game for, again, the veteran players and leave the noobs out to dry that they have to do it, or that's extra content for them to do? It's a
It's
hard
not
question, but
content, it's shit.
now at this stage in Diablo 4's life, I think Renown is in a very weird spot. So I'm going to be looking to see what does Blizzard, what does their design theme, what do they think of it, and what is the future of it? Will they make some changes to that system? I wouldn't be
Blizzard's design team is probably currently wearing helmets so they don't injure themselves against sharp corners. That's what the Blizzard design team's doing. They have bigger issues than actually, making Renown not stupid.
completely surprised if they remove the system entirely, or if they redid it some way where you don't have to do the whole thing, but you do some of it for some season specific rewards so everybody's on an even playing field. I really have no idea, but it's something to keep in mind. Are they going to do anything new with mounts? Here's a crazy idea. Never thought it would happen in WoW. They gave WoW flying mounts. Are we going to have flying mounts in this game? I don't even know what that means. Are we going to have dungeons in the sky or whatever, like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom? I'm not saying that I want them, but I might as well throw it in the prediction, because if they announce that, then I'm going to sound like a genius. Social aspects. Here are two things that don't work at all. Trading in the game. Currently, you have to go to like Diablo.trade to do any trades. Shout out to Diablo Trade, by the way.
And the social aspects of this game are insane. You know what I have done? I have tried talking to people in the World Boss events and the Legion events. No one talks. No one talks. And I kind of understand it, because I was doing the Blood Tide, and we were a group of random people who just were constantly using the Lords and summoning the 150 event. And one guy asked us, "Hey, where are we from?" And none of us answered. I logged off. Dude, there's no hope for socialization in Blizzard games in general, I honestly think, at this point.
By the way, clans. Clans mean literally nothing. Clans is just an extended friend list. Now, there is something to understand here. If you make clans valuable, farming in a clan gives you extra XP, extra loot. This is going to royally piss off some people, because people just view it as unfair if you're playing solo. People don't want to have to belong to a clan.
Yep.
In order
I don't
to get
have
rewards.
a clan.
I think that's a fair argument. But another argument is clans don't mean anything. So
True.
Is there a plan for it? Is it a purpose for it? Another thing that I would love if they would announce, it's possible we could get it on Season 3 as a surprise, is a solo mode. It's just so important, man, especially with the leaderboards coming out. By the way, I didn't mention for Season 3, leaderboards are coming. They said that that's coming, so...
No one cares about leaderboards. Like 0.0001% maybe care about leaderboards.
That's a guarantee. But with the leaderboards coming, where is our solo mode? It's just critically important. I think you absolutely...
What's the point of solo mode? Just struggle to... Dude, solo mode will never work, because you can't... Legion events take too long to do if you're solo. You literally... There's not a class that is fast enough in movement and AoE clearing to finish a Legion solo. That is the reality, okay? So, it's never happening. Solo mode is fundamentally impossible because the game is just not designed around that.
Absolutely have to have it in the game. I think Last Epoch system is brilliant. When you start the game, you pick which you'd like to spec into. You can spec into solo for like increased rewards, or you can spec into trading, whichever one you like to do. God, I think that's a smart idea. I hope more games take inspiration from them. That's a really smart idea. I'll tell you a rumor that I've heard.
Stealing.
I would have never thought of this, but I heard a rumor that they're going to introduce raids in Diablo 4. Now, people are going to have...
Yeah, people talk about this, but this is not happening. I mean, I have a video where we're checking out how people are doing a world boss, And, a world boss with 3 mechanics, where each mechanic is a wind-up of roughly 5 seconds before the attack gets cast. People were just dying left, right, and center. The reality is, Diablo 4 needs to be made easier for the average player, not harder. Okay? The average player has absolutely no idea how to deal with a world boss that actually deals damage, and you need to avoid 2 or 3 of his extremely way too long telegraphed abilities. The average player can't deal with that. The average player has absolutely no ability to deal with that. We can't make this game harder. We need to make it easier if we want to accommodate the average player. Raids are never gonna work.
Mixed feelings about it. This is not an MMO. This is an ARPG. We don't want raids. I don't want to do more things with more people. I mean, fair. Me personally,
Single player raids
I like
are a
MMOs.
thing.
I like WoW. I like Lost Ark. If you introduce raids, I will absolutely do them. I don't know exactly how that's going to work with solo mode. If you introduce solo mode, maybe you get a bunch of solo players.
Oh, don't worry. The raids are not going to be balanced at all, so it's fine.
You go do it. You work together. I'm not exactly sure, but I've heard that they're thinking about adding raids into Diablo. So
what's actually left here?
So it's even more sneaky. The Necro's more minion-y.
Oh, upgrading classes. Yeah, I guess this is the end. Anyway, that was great, honestly. That was from our boy Rex. But yeah, this is pretty much it.
We'll do a comparison to see if any of the things that I said...
Oh, there we have it. Rax. Just say Rex, please. It's fine. Raxantrax. I'm not even sure how you're supposed to pronounce it. Anyway, this was Quizzer Says, and thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.